Hey, what's up, ultramarathoner or future ultramarathoner? Coach Kyle here, and I want to go through some information from a position statement out of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, the ISSN, that talks about an objective and critical review of the literature, scientific studies as it relates to nutritional considerations for the training and racing of single-stage ultramarathons. So we're not talking about multi-day events. It's just basically one go. My own history when it comes to ultramarathons are a few solo ones, a few more 50K to 50 milers, a couple little longer ones, 100K last year I think it was, a couple DNFs, and one really long, slow, undertrained 100 miler. And I might have cried during that one. So I've also coached ultra marathoners from a 100 miler winner to a run across Kansas to Badwater to a first ultra marathon. So let's kind of dive into what the recommendations were from this review of the literature. One of the most important things to keep in mind for ultramarathon nutrition is that you must meet the calorie demands that your training is putting into your body. It's important to be mindful of the quality and the quantity of the food that you're taking in during training. And not just during the actual running, but before, during, after, breakfast, dinner, basically all the time. The scientific evidence overwhelmingly supports a moderate to high carbohydrate diet where around 60% of your food intake is from a carbohydrate source rather than protein, fat, and alcohol. This is important because it offsets the effects of chronic training, specifically the induced glycogen depletion. And glycogen is a storage form of carbohydrates in your body. There may be some benefit to purposely limiting carbohydrate intake before selected low-intensity sessions. And this is just your classic going out and running for 30 to 60 minutes easy before breakfast. But when it comes to long sessions or quality workouts like 1K repeats or a tempo run or a 2-hour, 4-hour long run, you generally want to eat before and during such a session. When it comes to protein intake, a rough recommendation is about 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight per day to help maintain your lean mass and support your recovery and rejuvenation from the training. For me, I'm 145 pounds, 65 kilograms. It comes out to about 100 grams of protein daily. One single cup of Silk protein milk has 10 grams of pea protein in it. And when it comes to the actual race nutrition, a nice calorie intake per hour is about 200 to 300 calories, most of which come from carbohydrates. You'll probably get some protein and fat in as well, depending on what you exactly eat. But what you exactly eat, again, doesn't really matter as long as it suits your preferences, your tolerance, and you'll eat it. With fluid intake, I typically recommend drinking to thirst, but it can be helpful to monitor your fluid intake to make sure you're taking in enough. However, if you have a bottle or a hydration pack with you, and you just kind of sip on it as thirst dictates, you're probably drinking plenty. A rough recommendation might be about 1 cup every 20 minutes, about 200 milliliters every 20 minutes or so. And it can't hurt to supplement with electrolytes during your long training sessions and races. But you need to probably take in more electrolytes than what the commercial products typically have. They often just don't have enough. But that is changing. The industry is coming around to the fact that if you're going to take in electrolytes, you need more than just what Gatorade puts in their bottles. And then one of my favorite points is that the evidence supports progressive gut training to improve your body's ability to handle the calories and the food intake while running and hopefully lower your risk or alleviate symptoms of gastrointestinal distress while running hard and long. And as it comes to ketogenic diets, ketone esters, or very low carbohydrate diets to improve ultramarathon performance, the evidence is honestly lacking. I think the American record holder, maybe the world record holder for 12 and 24 hours mileage in that time is a keto athlete, but in general, the evidence supports a high carbohydrate diet. Regardless of the macronutrient ratio of your diet, low carb, high carb, whatever, I suspect the universal suggestion of focusing on whole foods and limiting processed items in your habitual normal diet is going to be the way to go. So, I'm obviously a plant-based runner, but as it comes to what you eat, I really go with what works best for you. I don't push. I coach meat eaters, and I don't push my diet on anybody, because the general suggestion to eat real food, not too much, mostly plants, in my case all plants, is key. And the key is eating real food and cutting out, limiting processed junk food when it comes to your habitual diet. If that's high carb, if that's low carb, if it's just whatever you happen to be eating, it's fine. Obviously I support lowering or limiting or reducing, cutting out animal products, but that's not for everybody. And you got to be mindful that there's a lot of different people from a lot of different locations in the world, ancestral histories, and just culture, and even just who they hang out with in general. And for some people, they're just not going to be able to eat low carb. But if you can, cool. If you're a high carb person like me, cool. But eat real food, not too much, but make sure you get enough, especially if you're an ultra marathoner. Mostly or all plants, and you'll be pretty set as it comes to your general habitual diet. So check out the link for the full paper. This was just a rough rundown of the information. You can really go into a lot of detail if you want to. I've linked it below. Let me know thoughts, suggestions. I love hearing questions as well, so I can make future videos. And as always, you keep running, I'll keep coaching.